control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people, our little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Reveal your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. Wait for you to fall. We'll expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised.
Bumblefoot. Bumblefoot.
Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you, listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at spacedoutradio.com, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Game on! Game on! Game on!
Dave, oh Dave, are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
The password is...
Alright.
Okay, seriously, what's with the pointies?
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
Seriously, Dave? Really?
Chloe. Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.
Captain, take your seat on my left. It's time for takeoff.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 2, 1, boost ignition, and liftoff.
Just to be there with you, and I still trip over my feet, and my heart still skips a beat. I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. The deeper I go, the deeper.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Tonight I am your host, Dave Scott. We start off another week right here, right now in Uncle Jimbo's cabin, right here in the Great White North on this Monday night, early Tuesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Let's welcome in everyone listening in at spacedoutradio.com, on Spreaker, on the United Public Radio Network, Renegade Talk Radio, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and on Revolution Radio. Hey, we do this thing every night of the week, rocking in and out of every show, thanks to our resident guitar god, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy. Bumblefoot is the official sound of SOR. If you're a social media junkie like I am, follow me on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download this show and others on iTunes. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, if you want to take part in this show, you got to do me a favor. We don't take phone calls, so you have to sign into one of the chat rooms, either on Revolution Radio, on Spreaker, on the UPRN chat room, or on Facebook at the SOR Space Travelers Club. Or if you're on Twitter, just go to hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I will get to your questions and comments in there as well. If you haven't gone to our website and signed up for the SOR Space Travelers Club, seriously, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? It is time. It's $5 a month. With that, your name gets entered in the monthly prize draws. You get access to private group interviews, access to a special section for posting on our website, and so much more. Hey, we're going to give you a hell of a lot more than just access to our archives. While on our website, you can read up on my latest blog. It'll be posted tomorrow. Mrs. SOR got a little sick today, so she's staying away from the computer, staying in bed. You can also check out Eric Markham's SOR Spacewire for your latest and weird news. And if you've had a sighting you can't explain, we got the SOR Sightlines Report. Mike Schmidt is waiting to research it for you. We want to welcome everyone listening in on Renegade Talk Radio as we are live in Las Vegas. We are also live on 107.7 FM in New Orleans on the United Public Radio Network in over 160 countries around the world. Good to have you along for the ride. And remember, if you're a listener on Revolution Radio, it is the double R machine is the largest non-profit online radio station going. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Every now and again, we like to change the tone of the show since we are pretty in-depth when it comes to aliens, ghosts, Bigfoot, and whatever else we're nailing down as a show topic. So tonight, we're bringing it down a notch. We're going to take a breath, light some candles, some incense, grab a glass of wine if you're a female. It's still beer for us men. Because, yeah, we're going to talk about us. Us as people and how we deal with everyday life. And are we doing enough to take care of ourselves? Now, when I say taking care of ourselves, I mean literally. For example, I was never into Reiki, or Reiki, depending on how you want to pronounce it. I didn't understand why my wife wanted to become a Reiki master. Never had it, really didn't understand it, didn't think it would work. So one day, I was stressed right out, and my back between my shoulder blades was so sore, I couldn't even stand up straight. Mrs. SOR then convinced me to allow her to try her Reiki on me. So I did. I was willing to try anything. Within 2 hours of working on me, my back was feeling great. I was amazed I was standing up straight. That's what I mean about taking care of ourselves. Some of us don't take care of our own bodies, mind, especially the soul. And this is where people like our lovely guest, the talented Rachel Kirkland, come into play. Rachel's website, themodernshaman.net, is a great place to learn about yourself and to heal from the inside. From tapping into your intuitiveness to Shamanism 101, Rachel's going to break it down for us and how we can get back in touch with ourselves. Rachel Kirkland, welcome to Spaced Out Radio for your first time. How are you?
I am awesome. What a crazy, wonderful introduction. You already had me laughing. I was already laughing at what you were saying. I was trying
Come
to keep
on.
on.
This is serious.
Already.
This is serious stuff here. We're trying to do serious business here, and you're blowing it already.
Okay.
Come
I'll
on.
put my serious voice on.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm excited to be here. I'm really excited.
Well, I'm glad that you're excited too, because we are seriously moving forward here with something. And you know, it's funny because when I first started this show a couple of years ago, hard to believe that already, I did a lot of intuitive shows. And then my audience, kind of at the time, and it's changed so much, they were really like, why do you do so much of that? And I was into it, man. I was totally into the whole...
You're using past tense.
Exactly.
Did you grow out of it?
No, I'm actually still quite into it. But, you know...
Okay. But the show kind of changed.
But the show just kind of shifted. And I find myself not doing enough about it. And I think there's enough out there that we got to hit it every now and again. Probably a little bit more than what we have. So I'm very thankful for you coming on to kind of relay the message of how important it is for us as people to be taking care of ourselves.
Yes. This is your life and your evolution. So it is about that. I mean, it always comes down to that. Sometimes we get so busy. I mean, that's just how life is. It keeps us occupied. And a lot of times we don't get proactive, you know what I mean? We're only living in that reactive state.
So what made you get into this? What made you all of a sudden start to learn about who you were as a person and how important it is to actually get in touch with yourself?
What made me do it? Well, I would say I've always kind of been a weird person. Just a little different, maybe. And what I do as the modern shaman, I do a lot of kind of broad-based things. I like the term shaman because it acts as a bridge between the seen and unseen world. So when I was young, it started, I used to get premonitions every day, like 6-10 times a day. That was kind of my life. I thought everyone lived that way in their head, like they would see something and then it would happen. And so a lot of what I was doing on my inside world, I was just doing it intuitively. I was remote viewing, I was astral traveling, I was doing all of these things just very natively to myself. And honestly, I thought everyone did until I probably got into junior high, and then someone said, yeah, that's a little weird, Rachel. Not everybody does that kind of stuff. So that was kind of my intro into always having it. But it wasn't until I was older that I started really focusing on how to utilize it, what to do with this kind of stuff, how to integrate and be kind of an integrated, multidimensional being living a regular life. You know what I mean? Like, and what does that look like to actually try and live out a life that's still utilizing our multisensory gifts and our connection, just completely integrated. A lot of people, I feel like, spiritually have been, or our examples have been like, you do that stuff when you're on the mountaintop or in the monastery or when you're cloistered away somewhere, but you don't see a lot of like regular mom and dads living a kind of integrated, holistic mind, body, spirit life in everyday world, you know? So that was kind of my push, is like how to integrate it. And as much as I do all the weird stuff, to me, it's not weird. That's the whole point, is that we move it into our everyday practical life because that's the way we live it, you know?
So basically, you have had intuitiveness your entire life and thinking that everybody was like that. What was it like when you started finding out from friends and whoever else you kind of brought into the subject as a young girl that you were a little bit different?
Well, what is it like anytime someone says, you're kind of weird, Rachel? No, I mean, you know, that, to be honest, it's a double-edged sword. Like I used it a lot when I was young. When I say used it, I mean specifically trying to proactively like remote view things, or, you know, if someone was in a car accident, I would try and go there in my mind and make sure they were okay, and that type of thing, or check in on boyfriends and make sure they weren't cheating on me. And that's kind of the stuff I did. I didn't have any sort of like training or anything. Like I said, I intuitively did that. When people started, I think the first, you know, I grew up in the Bible Belt. So I think the first kind of way that I started seeing stuff is I always interpreted, when I would read the Bible, every time, you know, when Jesus came back to life, I always interpreted that as reincarnation, and I would start to talk about it kind of like that, and then people would say, that's not really the way it is. And I'd say, well, I remember my past lives. I remember, you know, I always have remembered those kind of things. So when I started kind of talking about it, I think I just kind of got labeled as like, yeah, that's that girl, you know, that's Rachel, that's her. See, some people like it, some people don't like it at all and are really freaked out.
I know the feeling, and I'll tell you this story. When everything kind of hit in our family in 2011, where all of a sudden we started getting spirits galore through our house, and our daughters lived with us, and we're a blended family, and so my daughter, I had known she was intuitive literally since she was still in diapers. You know, and when I say diapers, she was about 1.5 to 2 years old when we started picking that up. And my daughter lived with me full time, and we had my my wife's daughter, my stepdaughter, living with us full time as well, and there's a 5-year age gap between the two, and my stepdaughter started going to school, telling her friends that there's ghosts in our house and I see ghosts and all that. Because she was very excited about it. You know, she's in grade 2 and everything at this time. And all of a sudden, the friends stopped coming over. And we couldn't figure out why.
No.
Yeah, we couldn't figure out why. And then all of a sudden, we just kind of asked her, did you tell your friends about some of the things you see? And we talk about here. And she said, oh, yeah, of course. And I said, well...
Nobody wants to come to the ghost house.
Exactly. So all of a sudden, we had to... Well, what kind of tipped us off was her best friend at the time. My wife was good friends with her mother, and her mother kind of expressed concern over some of the things that was being said at school. So we had to nip that in the butt right away. But it really does go to show how unknowing or how uncomfortable a lot of people are when it comes to these types of topics and getting to know your own intuition, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame because everybody, at least in my mind, I think everybody has had some experience where maybe they're walking down a hallway and they have this feeling like there's someone there. And they don't want to turn around because they're feeling energy. They're aware of the unseen world. And they don't ever necessarily validate that. But I do believe that everyone in some way has had an experience where they're aware of the unseen. We just don't always validate it.
Why don't we validate it? What keeps us still
Fear.
in the... Okay, let's talk about that fear, though, because that's a good topic in regards to that. But why do we still have so much fear in regards to having an open discussion with these topics?
I think the fear is a little different for everyone, but there's fear of the unknown. And I think a lot of times, specifically with spirits, people feel, I don't want to say their control is taken away, but they're not that conscious of their free will in the matter. There's a lot of people that are afraid of spirits and afraid of possession or afraid of this feeling that they're going to be taken over or they're not going to be able to control the situation and things are going to be going wild and they don't want to open that door. You know what I mean? So it's let's just keep the door shut. Let's just act like it doesn't exist. It's let's just put the covers over our head and the monsters won't see us. You know what I mean? So there's this feeling that if I don't acknowledge it, then it can't have any play in my life. And yet we completely have free will. And our interaction with the unseen world, that's part of what is kind of paramount, first and foremost, foundational and stuff that I teach is about setting up your boundaries and your rules and kind of regulations dealing with spirit. Because if there's something you're not comfortable with, you can set that up and you can say, this is what I don't want, this is what I do want. This is how I want you to interact with me. This is how I don't want you to interact with me. And that gets rid of a lot of people's fear off the bat. Because especially if you're intuitive, like your daughter, or if you're getting these things as a child, and when I first started getting inundated with spirits, I couldn't have a conversation with someone because there would be all these spirits standing around, distracting me or talking to me at the same time. And it was just overwhelming. And then I finally realized I could say, talk to me one at a time. You know what I mean? It's so simple. And yet I had never set up that rule or regulation to say, talk to me one at a time or stand in a single file line so I don't have to look at every single one of you when I'm trying to just focus on my client, So setting up rules and things like that just for people or, not allowing them to come in your dream world if you're uncomfortable with that or whatever it may be. Taking charge as a sovereign being is huge.
So I got to ask this because I'm very, very curious, and it's way off topic. I know this, but I'm going to ask this.
Go for it.
When you met your husband, okay.
I took a drink of water and I almost spit it out when you said that.
Okay. When you met your husband, how did you go about telling him that you were intuitive, that you were into all of this juju that a lot of people don't believe in. How did you deal with it? Because it was different for me, because my wife and I kind of entered it together. But for someone who's grown up with it like you did, and then all of a sudden you're a woman, you're thinking, okay, you want to eventually find the right person to settle down with, have a family, which you have 3 lovely children, I believe. How did that go about? How did that conversation go about when you're like, yeah, you don't want to be messing around because I'll know?
Oh, that's funny. I don't know that I ever had that conversation, that, you don't want to be messing around because I'll know. But I think that went without even having to say it, because it's so much me. I'm me 24/7. It's not like I'm only me when I'm working, as a shaman and as a psychic. I'm always me. I've always been this person. So it's not like I'm hiding it. It's pretty much on my sleeve, and it's pretty much in all conversations. So he knew what he was getting into. I mean, our conversations, I'm sure, were completely focused around spirit pretty much from the get-go.
Was he a believer?
Yeah. It's funny. He is, but he isn't. He's very scientific. He's all into the quantum physics, all of this, the metaphysical science part of things. He's a genius, a Mensa man. So he's all into the mental mind of it, and I'm all into the feeling mind of it. So we balance each other. He teaches me a lot of how to describe what I'm doing into scientific, terms. Because I'll just do it, and I won't know what I'm doing. And then he'll say, yeah, that's kind of like quantum, traveling or whatever.
So when you bring it all together, you're lucky then, because a lot of people who are intuitive, I remember my friend Krista. She was the only psychic person that I had ever met way before this show. And she would tell me that it was very difficult for her to find a soulmate because she could see what was going on and she was uncomfortable about it. And because when she did bring it up to men whom she had met on a date, because eventually it does come out, and she used to test the waters with it, she found that a lot of men would actually either be really into it or they would actually get freaked out and just walk away. Did you have that? Did you have that happen?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. I have a little weird. I remember seeing my husband. I remember choosing this life before I came into this body, and I remember seeing my husband and choosing him before I came into this body. So I recognized him when I saw him, and I knew he was going to be my husband. I think we were engaged after a month. We've been together, I don't know, 15, 16 years.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's a little different. I realize it's a little different. My whole life is a little different. So I just go with it. But yeah, there was definitely guys that I was dating that I knew, they're not going to be into it, and they're going to run for the high heels, or definitely their family, or feel like they have to hide things from people. Mm-hmm.
So getting back to you for a second here, is this something that was absolutely passed down from generation to generation in your family, or are you kind of the first one who has had this type of ability?
Well, I think definitely I'm my own soul in the way that it plays out in my body and in my life. But as far as the shaman stuff, my history and kind of family is Cherokee. And my grandfather used to work, he was I can't remember, a tracker. I think that's what they called him. Basically, he worked with the police and helped find dead bodies, and did that in Dallas for a long time. And they didn't pay him to do it. He was just a known tracker. He was just really good at that. So that was it's not something that he necessarily taught me how to do, but there's a lot of tradition and a lot of, openness in my family that was always allowing me to just, to believe, they believed me. They believed, besides not necessarily, you know, like if I was going to tell my brother when I was a kid, I would say, hey, you're going to break your arm, don't do that. And then he would do it anyways and break his arm. But for the most part, my parents and kind of I guess the people that were in my circle, for the most part, believed, they believed, you know, they weren't, even when they didn't quite understand it. And there's some weird, you know, I've had weird stuff, weird. I mean, I know that's what you focus on, but, you know, I've just had a ton of weird experiences, but they've been really open about it for the most part. I think that, so it's not like they passed down any specific abilities. I do think it ran in our family enough for the family to be open to it. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely it does. You're a fortunate person to have that family support when it comes down, because once again, a lot of people in your shoes, you know, don't even have the support from their own family in regards to it.
Right.
You know, and when you have...
Well, I think we pick our own families. I think we pick those ahead of time. Definitely, some of us need a catalyst, and some of us.
Well, I would like to have traded in a sister or two, but you know, no, these are the ones.
Yeah, my brother might say that too.
yeah, these are the ones I am stuck with. So let's see how it goes here.
You better hope they're not listening.
Oh no, I haven't talked about one sister in like 4 years, so I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Oh, we're bringing up a little bit of grease on the Dave Scott family front here, but that's okay. That's okay. So as we kind of morph into our topic for the night, we've learned a little bit about you. I would love to know if you could take a couple minutes to describe, what is shamanism?
Oh, a couple minutes just on that one topic. Shamanism has been around forever. It's supposed to be the oldest known religion, even though people do not call it a religion. But because it's associated with the elements, the elementals, and just nature itself, it's labeled as the oldest religion that's been known. It looks different depending on the culture that it's practiced in. I mean, extremely different. But, you know, whether it's Mongolia or Irish or Native American, I mean, they're all very, the ceremonies are very specific to those areas. Even in indigenous areas, sometimes it's more focused on plant medicines and herbs and ceremonies like, you know, doing a lodge or a sweat or doing some type of ceremony with visions and kind of a vision quest type of deal. So it completely varies depending on the culture and the shaman also. To me, a shaman is a bridge between the seen and the unseen world. That is how I learned about it, and so that's how I apply it. It's a very broad term, and I love it because we love, for some reason, we love to label and put everything into channels. And the spirit world just doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. And for me, I've never just been like a medium or someone who works in energy healing or someone who does, you know, a psychic that looks at futures or kidnapping cases or whatever it may be. I've never just been one. I've always just been a broad-based, basically multidimensional being that's able to be on both sides at the same time. And so as a shaman, I love that because I just feel like I get to reach all aspects of my clients that are coming to me. Some of them come specifically for shamanic healings, and it's focused very much on energy work, similar to Reiki, but also bringing in the elements with, you know, dirt and water and all sorts of fun stuff, fire, really kind of focused healings. And some people come specifically for visions and future probabilities and things like that. And from what I am as a shaman, I do it all.
So when you look at things as a shaman, you are very much in tune and in touch with what is happening with your mind, body, and soul. When you look around, let's say you go to church or you go to the mall or you go to a football game because, hell, it's Friday Night Lights in Texas where you are, and that's something that I've always wanted to go to. We talked about that earlier. See, up here in Canada,
You're welcome.
Up here we don't have that. We just don't have that up here. But on the flip side, when you are around people, does it affect you? Does it affect when you see people stressed out, walking like zombies, or you pick up on their feelings, they're anxious, they're depressed, they're bipolar? How do you go about being around in public then?
Yeah, that's something I definitely had to deal with and learn as a young person, because I would walk to home from school, and every house I passed by, I could see where child abuse was going on, where there's, domestic violence going on. I could see it. I would get a vision of that house, and I would see everything that was going on. And I would be like, what am I supposed to do with this information? Or like, what am I supposed to do with, knowing this kind of stuff? And so I just, for me, this is just me. I don't know that this is applicable for everyone, but for me, I can turn it on and turn it off, like a faucet. And sometimes it's helpful to turn it off. And also, I can ask. When I was young, I used to tell Spirit, every time. I'm very visual, I'm clairvoyant, and I see a lot of things in images. And so when I would see those things, I would tell Spirit, and I use the term Spirit as a kind of, again, a broad kind of catch-all for anything on the other side that's kind of communicating with me. But I would tell them just to put a green film over the vision, as if someone had just literally put a green light film over it. And that would mean to me that I was supposed to get involved in that situation. I was supposed to either call CPS or something like that. If there was no green filter, then I would assume that it wasn't in the highest interest of those involved for me to get involved. And so I would just, at that point, pray for them, send them love, and do what I could in my own heart.
Did you get yourself into sticky situations because of that?
Definitely. I still do. Yes. I've had guns pulled on me before. I've had, goodness, I've had lots of people screaming at me. I have. But I'm just one of those weird people. I just do it. I can't, if Spirit tells me to do something, I just freaking do it. I do it. I mean, I just balls out do it. So sometimes it looks really, and it doesn't, sometimes it's not always something that's easy or clean or nice, or I don't know, but I completely trust that Spirit knows what's going on from that higher perspective. So yeah, I've gotten myself into a lot of sticky situations, but they work out the way they're supposed to.
True enough. But what about you get someone who you can tell their soul is yearning for help? Their soul is literally sent you a telepathic message saying, please help me. I need to get out of this situation. But when you go approach that person and they're like, get the hell out of here. Why are you bugging me? How do you deal with a situation like that?
Typically, then I would talk to their higher self. If their physical body is not connecting with me and not open, then I would talk to their higher. I would go a step above and talk to their spirit that's on the other side, the highest. So, and ask them to kind of play that part, or to whatever conversation I would be needing to have to help them. I would go to the other side of the veil to connect that way and try and kind of let it filter down into their life. Depends on what I'm, trying to do with that person. People definitely can block healing energy, can block any type of kind of healing, or like you were saying, even if they're kind of reaching out to you telepathically from their spirit saying, help, I need help. I feel like it just kind of depends on the person, but in those situations, if I can't get to them physically, I would try to get to them spiritually, in the spiritual realm.
Do you enjoy helping people?
Why, yes, I do. Of course. Do you think anyone would answer that question?
Well,
No?
and the reason why I asked that question is a lot of people in your shoes struggle with it.
Really?
They know
God.
they know they have to help. They know that's kind of their calling, their duty to help. But there comes a reality that most people still are refuting and refusing the help.
Yes, and that's okay. Like, I'm not attached to it. I'm not attached to what they do with my information. What I'm not at all attached. If they, throw out what I've said, then that's fine. But I have integrity to what I know I need to do, and I do it. You know what I mean? So I am completely sold out to what I do. I mean, it's who I am. It's just loving people, basically. It just looks like a shaman, and a psychic and coach in that way. But I'm fully sold out. I'm a sold out kind of person. Like I'm never halfway into anything that I do. So, and I don't worry if they don't take it. That's okay too. Like, it's fine. I don't, again, it's their journey, and I respect them enough to say, okay, if they're not ready for that or whatever, then that's fine. I completely respect their choice to boot it. You know what I mean? But I know in my integrity that I've done what I'm supposed to do.
So in dealing with people, and your clients especially, when they need help in healing, take us through what you go through in order to diagnose where that person could use some help.
So it's different for every person, but typically, and it's different if I have the client in person. I do a lot of stuff remotely also. So it would look a little different if I did it remotely versus like doing it in person. But at the beginning, say you come in and you don't quite know what's wrong, you just feel like something's wrong, or you want me to check in physically. And some of these healings are more trauma-based, like PTSD or just trauma, and some are more physical, and some are both. You know what I mean? A lot of times they do integrate and show up that way. But if you showed up, I would typically lay you down on my little fainting couch in here in my office and kind of feel out your energy a little bit like Reiki. And I would close my eyes and see. I use a lot of just my internal sight. And so when I use my internal sight and my, like all my psychic senses, basically, I also feel energy and I feel what's going on in that body. So if they had a blockage, say there was something physically wrong with their stomach, I would literally feel it. Like I would feel exactly what their stomach feels like. It's just like being in that body. It's called an energy meld, and I would just basically meld with their energy to where I felt everything that's going on with them. And then I would relay that to them. Like, this is where I feel like this is going on. Sometimes that healing, depending on the person and how they hold it, looks, let me just give one example because it's, like I said, it's different with every person. But like someone that I was working on with HIV, we were working with HIV, very specific, something very, very specific within the body. My psychic sight and vision felt very, like there was a lot of metallic energy, and shamanic healing has to do with balancing of the elements. So we worked a lot with earth. We worked a lot with water. And by earth, I just mean like literally like putting that mud all over them. I just do what I see, like no matter how weird and crazy it looks. And also asking from their higher guidance, like speaking to angels, speaking to their higher self, speaking to any sort of guides or anyone on the other side that's working for their good as to anything that they see that would be helpful. So sometimes that includes a diet. Sometimes that includes a fast or some sort of detox, depending on how their body is holding the illness. Sometimes it's purging, like throwing up. Like I literally have clients hawk a big loogie or something. It depends. It literally completely depends on, in that moment, where they're storing that dis-ease and where spirit is asking me to pull it out. And I physically use my hand to like push and pull. Sometimes I like suck on people. I know it sounds crazy, but in that moment, I'm very much channeling exactly energetically where they're storing things and where it needs to come out. And I tell them exactly what I hear, and then we just do those things.
I know everybody is different, but do you notice a pattern in your clients on what is holding them back, whether it's health-wise, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, whether it's spiritually?
Yeah, it's usually integrated. So for the most part, there will be some sort of trauma, and when I say trauma, it may not be that they're holding on to that event, but there may be residue of resentment, anger. Those are big core ones of like artery blockages. I see a lot of resentment and anger that cause artery blockage, or just like gunk that it looks to me almost like pustules, or like when I see it on the inside, like little gunk that builds up, and then, in the heart and can't pump, just depending. But a lot of times it's that type of emotional baggage or things that people have never shared. There's a lot of things that people block in terms of the speaking energy of it. They don't let it out. A lot of times that's when clients have to throw it up because they've never spoken of a certain trauma or something like that. And so that's pretty common. Food is a big one. A lot of times there's some sort of holistic food that they want that person to include in their diet that spirit says, or you need to cut something out, not forever, but for the healing specifically. Like during a certain time, there may be like a week-long fast of only a specific food where that level of acid or that level of fructose, whatever it is that the body is needing, is specifically geared towards them. So food is a big one that comes through. And then emotional baggage is a big one that's always tied in there. Let me see what else. I'd say those are the biggies. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Sometimes, it's not super common, people will have past life stuff that it's almost like it's a phantom illness from a past life that they're still carrying energetically.
I have a question from the Revolution Radio chat room for you from Olive. He is asking, Rachel, have you ever done a hypnotic regression? And if so, what was that like? Yes, me personally, have I been hypnotized, or have I do I do that for people? I mean, like, have I personally? Well, let's take on both. What the hell?
Okay. I've done both. Yes. When did I do that? I don't know, maybe 12 years ago. And it was awesome. It was like a 5-hour session, and she took me, I remember my past lives. So I didn't quite go into it for that. I went into it to remember my life between lives, like that space between each of my lives, and to remember why I chose this life, to remember kind of my life reviews after certain lives and that type of thing. But I've seen a ton of past lives. In that particular regression, when I first went back and kind of popped out of the womb, the first life I did see was a shaman. I was a shaman, and it kind of tripped me up. It was a death scene, and in that life, I was actually remote viewing. I was like using what we called second sight, and I was remote viewing some sort of attack that was going to be on my tribe, and I was trying to prepare my tribe. So as that shaman, I was actually viewing the life of some soldier and watching them kind of come up with their strategy on how they were going to kill us. And so when I popped into that really quick, it was just kind of like I popped into that brain, and I was like, wait a second, who am I? Because I was seeing through the vision of this soldier trying to kill it it was totally wacky. The soldier trying to kill this, group of Indians, and yet I was aware when I looked down at my feet, when I looked at myself, I knew I was in the body of the Indian. So it kind of tripped me up at first until I stayed with that life a little longer and realized, and went through the death scene and everything and realized, okay, that's what I was doing. I was remote viewing. And then during that hypnosis session, I kind of popped around from different lives, most of them centered on, just because that's what I wanted to use the session for, they centered on relationships of certain people that I wanted to know why I had certain connections to them for. So a lot of them were connected to family members and lives that had to do with them.
So when you are dealing with a regression therapy to help try and solve the mystery of what's going on in a person, how long does it take you to actually get through that wall, if we can call it that, before the person's mind, body, and soul starts to open up?
You mean when I am doing it on someone else?
Yes.
It's different for every person, too. Some people have blockages that are thicker than others. Some people fight with their mind, just depending on their neurology, to be honest with you. The way they process spirit through their own neurology is different for every brain. And some people have a stronger fight against that integration of spirit into the brain specifically. So it depends, but it's a little different with me because I start seeing their past life. I can see other people's past lives, so I'm starting to see them before they see them. So a lot of times I can start that process and kind of kickstart it quicker because I can say, okay, I'm seeing this, and I'll tell them what I'm seeing. And then it almost feels like they sync with it a lot faster. And then I can leave them in that space and let them play out the rest of the journey. But I can start to kind of get them synced there a little quicker because that I'm able to see it. So maybe depends, maybe 30 minutes, an hour before they fully are there. Some people can go there just like that, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. But for the most part, I would say half an hour.
When you talk about blockages, a lot of people may not even understand what you mean by that. Could you go through what a blockage is?
So there's psychic blockages, and there's past life blockages. A lot of us, we carry energetic patterns. It's just patterns, just like habits, but they're carried with us forever until we change that pattern. To me, when I see it, it looks like a ripple in water, like when you drop a big rock in water and it leaves those wake ripples. So kind of energetically, when we have certain traumas, they drop a big rock in kind of the ether, and our pattern starts to kind of be formed in relation to that. And it just kind of keeps rippling through the ages of time unless we change that, unless we look at that and say, okay, I don't like that pattern. I'm going to change that pattern. So a block a lot of times is, say someone had a past experience where they were in a past life maybe betrayed by someone that they loved. That's a common one. Someone turned them in to the Gestapo or something. It was their own child, or some traumatic event like that where they feel betrayed. They may not know why, but every relationship, it seems like they have this weird gut fear that they're going to get betrayed, like on a core level, and they don't know why. It's not like that person ever makes them feel that way. It's just like this gut instinctual reaction that makes them feel like they're going to be betrayed. And no one else would respond that way or feel triggered that way, but they always do. So we have to go look at, why is that? Why is that some sort of block for you to be able to move on relationally? So that's an example of a relationship block. And they may store that physically in their body. A lot of times we store relationship blocks in our hips, I see, a lot of times in our solar plexus, energetically, and a lot of times this will also have to do with just physical, our reproductive system. And so we'll get physical blockages because the energetic patterns are not flowing. There's a they're just kind of like bumping up against themselves. Does that make sense?
Well, it kind of does, because I've been
But
known
it's a
to have
tricky
a
thing to
few
explain.
blocks. Yeah, I understand that it is very tricky in order to, get the full detail out of there, because for a lot of people, that what they need to be able to do is they need to be able to, open up to what they want from themselves, because in the end, they're the ones holding the block. They're the ones keeping
Right.
that block in place. It's not some spirit or ghost or the soul doing it to itself. It's the human brain
You're
that
so
causes
right.
them.
Yes, you're so right. Hmm.
So how do we
Yeah.
get past tricking the human brain to let it go?
That's a good question. How do we get past tricking the human brain? Again, I'm going to say my age old. It's different for every person, because it is. Everybody's brain is different. There's an aspect to it that if you can honestly believe, like if you can flip the coin and believe that there's no blockage, you can literally unblock it just by believing there's no blockage, if you wholeheartedly go there. But a lot of us need like the scaffolding to believe that healing is possible, or an unblocking is possible. And tricking the brain is almost like having small either sessions with somebody who works specifically on this, or just looking at it yourself in these areas and trying to physically see what's going on, and then believing little bits of healing as they're happening. So if you need that scaffolding to believe that the healing is happening, then those small, I guess, little triumphs of seeing like, oh, when I change my diet, it seems that I'm able to feel a lot more free and less heavy when it comes to my relationships. If they're able to kind of connect the dots there and allow it mentally, a lot of people we have to kind of allow ourselves bit by bit, like just, what is that phrase about eating? You can eat an elephant like one bite at a time. It's a little bit like that. Like if you can take a little bit, and whether maybe like with you, it's Reiki or something, like, okay, I'll try Reiki. Yeah, I'm a little bit okay with that. Maybe not psychic surgery. I'm not like ready for that, but I can do I can let somebody like put their hands on, over me a foot and kind of move them around. And then when they're seeing actual change from that, it just releases the brain just enough to where it's kind of like, After that little breath, then you can move on to a little bit more and more and more until you feel like you've had holistic healing.
Are there people out there that just absolutely want to close up? They don't want to give you anything. They're just maybe addicted to the sympathy of people feeling bad for them, that they're always down? Yeah, there's plenty of people. Those kind of people typically don't come to me because they don't want healing. Some people, their healing literally is just a voice. Like a lot of those that hold on to issues, hold on to it because it serves them in some way. It gives them some sort of validation as a person. They identify their identity with that disease. I'm a survivor. This is me. You know what I'm saying? That's part of their identity, is a certain disease or is a certain trauma. That's kind of like what they come back to every time. Some people, and that's fine. Like they may come to me and literally just need to voice and feel heard, and that's it. Like just to feel heard. And I'm okay with that too. If Spirit just says, Rachel, shut up and let them talk the whole time. I mean, I that's fine. You know what I mean? And if they turn around and say like, oh, it was a bunch of hogwash, and, I've had people come to me and Spirit, right away, like everything I've said, they're like countering it with something that they disagree with. And I can feel the whole time that what they need is validation. They're not coming to me to hear anything new. They want me to validate them. And I'm okay with that too. I'm okay. I don't have to win. You know what I mean? I don't have an agenda other than like what that person needs to receive in that moment. The reason why I ask that is because I think for everybody who's intuitive, there's always people who are there wanting some help, they're wanting some guidance, they're wanting some clearing, they're wanting direction to get this so-called black cloud that's hovering around them to dissipate, so that way they can see the sunshine again. Yet I know in my situation where, oh goodness, I have one friend, and unfortunately we're not that close anymore, but she knew I was I'm going to, lack of a better term, say I was 100% right with everything that was going to happen. Like, I could just predict things with her with ease. It's the only person in this world I've been able to do that with. But she always did the complete opposite. Then I would have to clean up the mess because she didn't listen to the advice. She went and did her own thing. And then I got left cleaning up the mess once again. You know what I'm saying? Do you ever have to deal with people like that?
Yeah, but I don't clean up the mess. I just say it's your mess. I mean, that may sound apathetic, but there's a sense of, I do have people like that. But that's fine. To me, I don't really, it's fine. Like, if that's their journey, that's not my life. You know what I mean? So I'm not on that path. Like, I'm not on their path. So I'm okay with them doing whatever they want to do with my information. Honestly, whatever they want to do, that's completely in the range of their free will. And if they choose to not learn, what I'm teaching, or to not hear, or to not heed in your instance, the stuff that you're seeing that's kind of trying to warn them ahead of time, then they're not ready. You know what I mean? There's an essence in them that still hasn't learned that lesson. It's going to play that record 50 times before they learn that lesson. So be it. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, play that record. That's fine. I'm not going to play it. You know what I mean? That's not me. I'm going to learn my lesson as quick and the most efficient way I possibly can and get on with it.
But how do you keep yourself out of it? Because sometimes the people whom you're helping want to drag you with them, almost like you're their spiritual twin.
Yeah, I'm with you. How do I not? I guess there is just a sense of when somebody is going down that route, it's like I'm looking at them, and I just see compassion. Like, there's a sense of just like, and maybe that's just me, but I just,
on that note,
ooh, I'm hearing music.
I know, that's because I wasn't watching the clock. It's time to go for a commercial here. We're going to step out for our first break of the night. Rachel Kirkland is our guest. The modernshaman.net is her website. I highly suggest you check it out. We'll be back right after this.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Looking for news beyond the mainstream news? Head to spacedoutradio.com and check out the SOR Spacewire. This is Spaced Out Radio's Eric Markham, news director for the SOR Spacewire. Daily, I will bring you intriguing stories and outlandish reports from what's going on around the world. UFO sightings, paranormal activity, conspiracies, alternative health, and so much more. And if you have news, email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report and let's find out the answers together.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passport. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers, and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest. From Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up, enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Hour number 2 underway. Tomorrow night on the show, Samantha Mowat will be back. Yeah, we're glad to have Samantha back. She had to skip last month due to the passing of her father, but the ET Experience will be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on Renegade Talk Radio. Yes, we are live in the night of Las Vegas, so if you're off the strip, I hope you're having a good time checking out Spaced Out Radio. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on the United Public Radio Network, live on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Got our new numbers from UPRN. We're at like 125,000 people a night That's pretty incredible. I'm kind of astonished by that number. 125,000 people a night on UPRN tuning on in. So thank you so much for doing that. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, like Man Olive is, remember, the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Oh my God. Bill, you got to be serious with this one. Honestly. Bill Cardwell sets the password for the night in the SOR Space Travelers Club. I don't even know what the hell this is. I'm staring at the password because we read the password off every single night. And I'm looking at this and I'm saying, Bill, you finally are off your rocker. Oh my God, I don't even know how to try this. Flockina, let me see this. I'm going to spell it out for you. FLOCCINIHILIFICATION. I don't even know how the hell to pronounce that. Bill, I'm not even pronouncing it. Bill sets a password each and every night here on the SOR Space Travelers Club. Tonight, we're spelling it out. Anyways, now I got to move on. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio as well if you want to get a live question or comment to me. It's right in front of my screen. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download this show and others on iTunes. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. While there, we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. Flock, see now, senilipilification. That's enough. That's all I'm going for. Rachel Kirkland is our guest tonight. Maybe use some of that remote viewing to try and figure out the damn password, because I'm kind of pissed off about that.
I'm trying so hard to not laugh.
You can laugh. You can laugh.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I'm like crying on this side. Oh gosh, I have no idea. I was about to like write down that word to try and spell it when you were spelling it out. I'm like, maybe if I write it down, I can like get the pronunciation. But you lost me halfway through it. I was like, I have no idea.
I'm going to try it here. Flossy now senilipilification. Senilipilification. Flossy no I'm almost.
It needs to come with a pronunciation guide. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, usually my audience member, Gail, she usually breaks it down for me. Jeff has broke it down for me tonight. And I just...
Jeff and Gail,
yes.
We need to know. How do you pronounce it? Somebody needs to, Google that.
I don't know. Well, there's a YouTube video on this, but, you just can't go right through and get into a video, or could we? Hold on a second.
Bob, I think Bob's trying to trip you up.
Oh, Bill.
Oh, it's Bill.
Yeah, damn it, Bill. Hold on a second here. Let's see if we can get this here. Hold on. This, honestly.
This is going to be a video about a pronunciation of a word, which some of you may find amusing, considering my usual style. It's floxinosinihidipilification.
There it is.
That was awesome. He said it too fast. You need to put it in slow-mo.
Well, I was confused on the C, so it's floxinosinihilipilification.
You're not saying it right.
No, I'm not. Damn it. Okay.
You just said vacation, and that's about. I think.
I got the pilification. Anyways, let's move on here. I want to get into with you about being psychic. A lot of people believe that absolutely everyone is psychic. Most of us have actually lost that ability, whether it's through school, whether it's through religious belief, whether it's through peer pressure. much like what you mentioned in the first hour, what you went through, where people were kind of saying, oh, there's that strange young lady again. Do you believe everybody has the ability? And if so, why or why not?
Do. Yes, I do. I'm going to agree with the populace there. I do, because we are spirit. That's our native form. We're spirit more than we're body. So we're telepathic before we learn language. You know what I mean? That's our native, organic way of communicating, of reading people, of knowing how to move and do. So yes, psychic, I think we're in the broader term of psychic too, clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, all, clairgustient, like how we feel energy from people, we feel vibes. I think some people just tune it out more than others, like you're saying. We kind of unlearn it. And it's a little bit backwards the way our school and our learning system is now. As humans, we learn from the outside in, which means we take a book or whatever it is, a video, and then we try and kind of digest it through our brain. We take it through and try and assimilate it. But the psychic senses, our natural source, works opposite. It's already in there, and we have to let it out. It has to come out. So we're just not used to that process, and it feels weird and almost like backwards for a lot of people. They almost don't trust what they've been saying in their head all along. You know what I mean? They have never really trusted it because we're so used to learning from the outside in. So validation, they're used to it coming from an outside source. Bibliography, you know what I mean? Like they're used to it coming from some sort of outside validated source instead of inside out. So it almost feels like a backwards process for people. And I think that's why some people feel like they, quote unquote, can't do it. But it's in there. That's our native state. Once we leave this body and we can no longer use our mouths and neurology to say things, we're still communicating.
All right, 1 second here. Floxy knows... Hold on. Floxy knows Nihila Pilification. I think I got it.
Have you been practicing that when I was talking? You were practicing.
I sure as hell was. I sure was. I multitask here. But I understand that you feel that everybody has that ability in order to see or in order to communicate on a spiritual level. Where do you think the biggest problem is on where we lose it then?
Trust. I think trusting ourselves. Unfortunately, this is kind of like part of our growth process as humans. The way we teach children is a lot based on not trusting themselves. Like, let me tell you how to do it because you're not going to do it right. You know what I mean? Or let me tell you something because you don't know. Let me show you something because if you do it, you're going to make a mistake. And our teaching, just the way that we teach, and again, we're well-meaning when we do it, but that method tends to, from the beginning, from the get-go, make us feel like we can't follow what our intuition and our natural course is kind of leaning us towards. Instead, we should trust what somebody else tells us above that. Again, that learning coming from the outside in, we start to learn that kind of what's right is supposed to come from other beings that have learned it, and then they translate it to us, which is not the way I feel like it really is. I think it's the opposite. So I feel like we're kind of conditioning our own human society in a backwards way. We've done it backwards.
Do you feel then that it's easy for people to reconnect? Because there's a lot going on in this world, and we talked a little bit earlier on about how a lot of people have the blockages. A lot of people have life that goes on a daily basis where they may not have time to figure out their spiritual side, let alone try and make a living in this world, because right now it's tough for a lot of people.
Yeah, I didn't hear your original question.
Oh, no, you're tuning
I was following. No, I took a swig of my water, and I heard the very end. Is that horrible? But I'm being totally honest with you. Hit me again with it.
All right.
I'm ready.
Well, do you feel then that a lot of people do not have the time to try and figure out what is going on with themselves spiritually? They don't have the time. They don't have the ability to do it. They don't have that 5 minutes to meditate. They don't have, they got bigger concerns on their brain, like how to live. They have how to pay rent or a mortgage, how to make that car payment. How do I keep food on the table and keep my children happy if they have a family going on? There's a lot of blinders and blockages that we just cannot control.
Yes. No, I'm totally with you. But that's why I feel like it's so important, because it's integratable. I mean, this is in you. So if you're asking all of these questions and you're still trying to work out all the practical aspects of life, you're able to do this. I mean, like meditation, for instance. A lot of people meditate when they're walking their dog or when they're driving their car. They're totally zoned out. It's like their most peaceful state of meditative focus. So it's not like you have to be, Buddha on a mountaintop in full lotus position for 10 minutes, at the beginning of every day or whatever it may be. I feel like that's something that you can easily integrate. And also just your intuitive nudging, your gut, you're going with that, even asking kind of higher guidance and following that on your daily things, on like making a living, on the best way to handle a conversation that is going to be confrontational. You know what I mean? We have these things every day, but we don't always utilize the unseen world to integrate it. But it's very integratable. It's not something, again, that you have to take time outside of your regular life. It should be, it's like in your life. You know what I'm saying?
Very much so. But there's still a reality to it for a lot of people, Rachel, where, as much as they may want to reach that step, as much as they may want to try and climb that mountain, to find 5 minutes in a day with a 24-hour society, it's damn near impossible for people just to drop everything and think about themselves these days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Well, do it when you're on the pot. Everybody has to sit on the pot at some point in the day. So there you go. There's your 5 minutes.
True enough. I'm thinking show topics at that time, but that's just me. The day never ends. The day never ends.
So your shower, you can meditate in the shower, or to think about yourself in the shower, like focusing on what you need. Think about what you're already doing. You know what I mean? Don't make it feel like it has to be something separate.
Mm-hmm. So when you're teaching someone to find their own personal psychic ability, take us step by step what you go through to help people.
Okay, so we look at how they're already receiving communication. First off, I just explain the psychic senses and kind of go through, everybody defines them a little bit different, but the basic psychic senses, you want me to go through them?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's just run with it.
Okay, I didn't know. So there's just claircognizance, which is that super strong gut feeling, like you just know something. This is very common in people. I'd say this is the most common psychic sense, is claircognizance. It's just, you know someone's going to call right before they call. You don't know how, you just have that feeling. Or you can just walk up to someone in the grocery store and you just kind of have this, you don't know why, but you have this gut feeling that they're going through a divorce. That is claircognizance. So I go through and I explain, okay, there's claircognizance, then there's clairaudience, which is hearing. We all, again, have this. If I was to tell you right now to sing the ABCs in your head, you would hear it in your head. That is the source of, that's the space that clairaudience comes through. So it's not some voice from the sky booming down, being like, this is what you should do. You know what I mean? It never sounds like, a lot of people get tripped up because they think it should sound like something that's not their own internal voice. And it doesn't always. Sometimes it does if you're, channeling a specific spirit or entity or something. But for the most part, when you're first learning this, it still just sounds like your voice. But teaching people that is clairaudience. And then there's clairvoyance, which is seeing. And again, if I was to tell you to imagine your kitchen, you would see an image of it. Most people would. I'm sure there's some people that would be like, I can't see anything. But for the most part, people can do this. This is your source of the imagination. It's the same place that we use when we dream. We're not using our physical eyes. We're using our third eyesight, our multisensory sight. So that's clairvoyance. Again, people love to like trip it up and make it sound like it's so difficult. This stuff is so intuitive and integrated into who we are and how our body works that we pass it by. We think, that can't be that easy, you know. But spirit is so simply profound. It always is. It's always more simple than we think it is. So anyways, there's that. There's clairsentient, which is the feeling. Okay, so this is, you know, feeling tingles in your body. When it comes to spirit, feeling, a lot of people feel other people's sensations. This is kind of what I was talking about with medical intuition. Reiki falls into this category. But also, people receive messages this way. Like every time your grandfather comes around, for some reason, you get this tingling on the top of your head. Or, you know, you feel pressure or heat or cold. This is the type of feeling in your own body, non-physical. And then there's clairgustant and clairsensuous, which those are taste and smell. Smelling something that's not physical and tasting something that's not physical. Those are not always fun ones. Some people that have those psychic senses don't always love them. I always get that blood taste in my mouth when I am around someone that's about to die or a body or something, which is not always a fun one. But some people, you can use that as well to connect to the unseen and receive messages. So when I go through those, typically when we're just talking about them, everyone in their head is going, ooh, that's me. Or, ooh, yeah, I do that. Or, ooh, you know what I mean? They're relating to one of those in some way. So we go through a few activities that, just like saying the ABCs in their head, just kind of giving them an idea of this is the space in your head that this stuff happens in. So once we do that and we identify how they already are connected and receiving messages, then we strengthen that particular sense. And we strengthen the other ones too, but you go first to what feels most organic and natural to you. So if it's, for instance, clairaudience, that's a big one. A lot of people feel like they can talk to their past loved ones in their head. This is, you know, your mediums and things like this. Then we may focus on working on automatic writing and getting used to, say we would set up a T-chart where if you've seen a T-chart, like if I could just, you know, a T, and on one side of the T is your name, on the other side of the T is Uncle Joey, or, you know, Michael, Archangel Michael, or whatever, whoever it is on the non-physical side that you want to connect to. And you put your questions on one side, and then you have this conversation in your head, like a crazy person having a conversation in their head with some non-physical being. But you get used to this ongoing conversation because you already are comfortable with hearing in your clairaudience. And so that's one way, just to strengthen it. But we go through specific ways geared towards each psychic sense that kind of helps you feel like you're more in control of it or know how to be proactive instead of just reactive.
Much like trying to pronounce a password.
Are you still on that password?
How can you not be? How can you not be?
Oh, God, you're cracking me up. What is the password for? What is it? Does it open something?
Exactly. The password is just the password. It's there for the Space Travelers membership.
Oh, so they need it to actually get in.
Exactly. That's what it is. When you ask someone what's the password for, exactly. When you are dealing with people in regards to whether they're clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient, or whatever they may be, is there a difference between what a person is and maybe their gender or their age?
Like, are the psychic senses different depending on gender and age?
Yes.
No. no. Spirit is there's no age. In terms, time is irrelevant on that side. So no.
So it's just all.
That's a short answer.
So it's just all the gifts. So when you are helping people open up, then are you noticing that you're helping more women than men? Because men, we always got to play the tough guy role in everything. You know what I'm saying? And we don't need to believe in that crap because we're more five senses type people. Or do you see it maybe being surprisingly the opposite?
I would say, like in the classes that I teach, probably 8 out of every 10 is a female, which is a shame. But the females sometimes can drag the males into the classes. I mean, there's definitely, I would say most men are comfortable with claircognizance. That's the strong gut feeling. They're comfortable saying like, yeah, I get gut vibe, I get feelings, I get vibes, that kind of thing. But when you ask them, like, do you get clairvoyance? Is there any sort of like premonition or precognition or, visual to it? A lot of times they'll kind of step back from that type of stuff. Women tend to be more, I guess, open to admitting that because just like the feminine, masculine aspects of our personalities, women tend to be more emotive and, emotional based. And so we're used to interpreting things on an emotional level, not just a literal way. I'm not trying to be sexist in that way, but just trying to say we're used to kind of interpreting. So, interpreting the meaning behind something, not just the literal. So like clairsentience and feeling energy, I think a lot of women are comfortable doing this. They're used to feeling into things more so than men.
I remember when I started opening up, a good friend of mine, Pascal, helped open me up. And I remember him saying to me point blank, before we even start on this, you need to ask yourself, is this what you want to do? Because his explanation for everything was, once you open that door, you don't know where it's going to take you. And once you step through that door, you don't have a choice. You can't go back. Do you believe in that?
I do in some ways. It's kind of like once you see something, you can't unlearn it. You know what I mean? So I do in that way. There's a little bit of fear in that to me, in hearing it said that way. There's a little bit of like, you better be careful, But I do believe that like you don't always see where it's going for sure. I've definitely had that in my own personal growth and experience with spirit, like where I think I know where I'm going and doing in my own personal meditation time, my own personal channeling and things like this. And then I'm like, what in the heck is this? You know what I mean? Something totally out there that I've never heard anyone talk about. I've never seen it coming. Yeah. So I do agree in that way that like, you don't always know where it's going to take you, but it takes you where it needs to take you if you trust the process.
I understand trusting the process, and Pascal wasn't trying to freak me out or anything, but I don't think a lot of people fully understand there is ramifications for what you're about to see. For instance, when he opened me up, I just wanted to chat with dead people. I thought that would be kind of cool. And in the meantime, he's like, no, Dave, you're going down the alien route. You're going to talk to some aliens. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. But you don't have a choice because that's your path that's laid out for you. And that's what he was kind of forewarning me about in a man-to-man conversation about this, is once you jump down the rabbit hole, you don't know where you're going to land.
Yeah.
And you don't have a choice once you make that commitment. So it was a little eerie, but he also worked me up to the point where I was able to make what's the word I'm looking for? A great decision for myself, a clear, conscious decision for myself. So when a lot of people come to you and say, yeah, I think I would like to maybe try this out or something along those lines, do you forewarn them that, look, your life is going to be different if you go through with this?
Yes, for sure. That's the first thing we talk about. It's kind of like spiritual protection and deciding that. You know what I mean? I love that. Just kind of how he gave you the fullness of that responsibility. I don't know that people. Well, let me ask you this: when he asked you that question, did you say, "Yeah, I'm ready"?
I took a deep breath. I thought about it. He wanted me to take some time with it to make sure that I was making the right decision. But I thought I was going to talk to just dead people. I didn't think that there was a whole different ramification and different realms that came along with this. For instance, I didn't know that telepathy was part of this. I didn't know that the whole extraterrestrial realm was a part of this. I didn't know that when I was opening up, that all of a sudden I was going to be able to summon UFOs. So there's a lot that I didn't fully understand or comprehend, even though Pascal had forewarned me about this. And I think a lot of people, once again, much like ghost hunters, they want to go find a ghost, they want to go see a ghost, and they want to be weekend warriors about it, but they don't want to make that full commitment just in case they don't like it. But when you're playing with the mind, body, and the soul, there's a different element to it right off the bat.
There is. I think there's a level to, and the reason I asked you that question is I feel like you wouldn't have come to him and wanted, even though it came in a seemingly insignificant way, like, I just want to talk to dead people. I don't know that from your higher self perspective that it was ever looked at like that. I think they knew, you know what I mean? And from that perspective, you came because you were supposed to come. There was purpose in that, and you were ready, and you still chose to open the door. So there's a place that I feel like those that come to me are ready to come to me. I definitely let them know ahead of time, just like you said, that that it can go where it needs to go. It will. I mean, life does that also. It takes us in a lot of places we don't always see coming. But the spiritual realm is even more so because it's just even more multidimensional. I mean, it can go in all directions.
So when you have that conversation with people, or maybe you don't, but when they ask, do you tell them that, hey, you might not see dead people, you may be connected to extraterrestrials, you may be connected to cryptid or animal creatures? Do you forewarn them that you won't know until you actually get there?
Yes, I do. The intro into it, we start with where they are. So, like, if you wanted to talk to dead people, we would start with, mediumship that goes specifically to that. Now, once you're learning mediumship, that's the telepathy, and you're learning to communicate with unseen beings. There's a lot of different types of unseen beings in the non-physical. So, aliens and all sorts of galactic beings and dimensional beings and entities are part of that too. So yeah, we talk about the fact that you're not narrowed into one channel at all.
One second here. Flossin, nossin, illipilification.
Ooh, that sounds better. That sounded like a little more flow to it.
I think I got it. Flossin, nossin, illipilification. I think I got it.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, you need like a little ding sound.
I know. I might get a big mention for that. I'm hoping, if I got it right. Oh, Gail saved me on that one. I'm going to give her all the credit. So,
awesome.
Yeah, that's still bugging me, Rachel. Still bugging me. So what is the reaction from the people you were training to open up their psychic abilities when you tell them, look, you may go in a different direction than what you think that you're going to go, and there's no really controlling it?
It's mixed. I mean, it's mixed. There's a little bit of excitement there, I think, for people, and then there's another part that's that very serious Are you ready? It's just like when I do healing, I talk to people like, are you ready to be healed? I always ask that. I believe that all healing is self-healing in some level. So, there's the same thing with when it comes to opening up to your psychic senses. Like, are you ready to open up to kind of the truth of who you are? It's who you are. And so it will take you where it needs to. It's just that a lot of times we don't see we don't know the fullness of ourselves fully. But there's a part, yes, I guess people's reaction is kind of two-part. That serious, there is that realization that I do need to get serious about this if they come into it just kind of, casually. And then there's also an awareness, I think, that people get excited. I have a lot of clients that are totally amped, like a little bit like riding a roller coaster and wanting to put your hands up. There's like a little bit of that thrilling, like, here we go, to it.
One of our valued listeners, Corrine, who literally is my second favorite poet of all time, next to Leonard Cohen, who's on top. She's asking, she's quite intuitive too, and she's been learning her skills. She's asking you about twins. Is there twins that run in your family?
Oh, no. I don't have any twins in my family. Is she talking about, just twins in my family, like literal twins?
Yeah.
No. I don't think so. No. But my father was adopted out of his, I still knew his real family, but I don't know. I don't think there's twins. Not that I'm aware of.
Might sneak her in yet. She's pretty cool.
Awesome.
So, yes. Sometimes we go by the seat of our pants on this one, but that's all right. We finally nailed the password. Bill gave me a big mention in the chat room, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'm feeling good about myself. My brain barely hurts anymore after that whole thing. So
it only took you like an hour.
Yeah, I know. Well, actually, 30 minutes. 30 minutes, but we got it.
That's not bad.
Yeah. How do you approach people when... And I'll give you an example through me here, and I don't usually like using myself as an example, but tonight it seems like I'm going to be. I'm unsure what I am hearing in my head sometimes. Sometimes it seems so accurate, and then when I ask a person, it is very, very off. Like not even close, like not even in the same ballpark. Yet there are times when I keep quiet and I get that message, and then the person says something about that, and I'm like, I already knew that. How do you control your accuracy when training someone who is unsure about their own abilities?
I don't know that you can control your accuracy, but practice makes perfect. And I know that's a very simple answer, but when we practice, a lot of times we start with group readings, because it helps you gain confidence when you hear, say we are doing a group reading, we may have one person in the hot seat, and everyone quietly tunes into them, writes down on a piece of paper messages that they're receiving, or if that person has a specific concern that they want us to tune into, or whatever it may be in the class. And we write all those things down, and then once we start sharing one by one, sure enough, people that have yet to share start hearing that what they received is mimicked in those other people. And so they're gaining kind of confidence. And they're also learning that people language it in very different ways. So, sometimes it's interesting. It can be the same core block message on the unseen, like from spirit. And yet, depending on who's translating it, they're going to process it through their own neurology and their own language and their own historical cocktail of a life and the way they would explain things. And, if they're more of a visual person, they may explain it that it looks like bunnies. And then somebody else may, if they feel and more intuitive in terms of just their emotional body, may say, it just feels very soft and subtle. They may have not seen a bunny, but they may, you see what I'm saying, the information itself is similar in the message. But people, I think, once they start realizing, like, it's not always the way that I say it, they start building confidence in the fact that interpretation and kind of the overall, the way someone processes it is different. And just voicing it and hearing kind of over and over validation for it gains that confidence. Again, I know that's kind of like the trite answer, but it's true. It's practice. And group practice is easier because you have a comparative versus just doing it by yourself and someone saying, no. Because sometimes you are right on, but you're not communicating it in a way that they understand it. Like, for instance, that whole bunny thing. Like, you may see a bunny, and it may be a symbol of some of the childhood or of something that feels, I don't know, maybe they're trying to get pregnant and there's like a reproductive aspect to bunnies. You know what I mean? There could be, but then you say, what's going on with bunnies? And they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's totally off. But the connection of it is real. You're not honed in yet to the fullness of that message that you're receiving. So it takes practice to kind of pull in not just one thing, but the fullness of that message. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it fully makes sense. But, when you're unsure of your own accuracy, that's what throws people like me for a loop. Because, like I said, there are times when I think I'm bang on something and I'm nowhere close. But then there are times when I finally decide, well, maybe I should keep my mouth shut because, I'm just uncomfortable with speaking what I'm seeing. And then you find out that you're bang on. Right?
Yeah.
It just drives me. It drives me crazy. It drives me literally crazy.
I still believe in free will. I don't think the future is laid out like that, even as a psychic. Maybe I'm just a weird psychic, but I still believe in free will. So there's an aspect to things that if you're sharing something that's kind of precognitive or, a premonition that you've seen or feeling that something's going to happen, people can change those.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even, Nostradamus, Edgar Cayce, famous psychics that did lots of predictions that were accurate in a lot of things, but some of them weren't.
So how do you judge if you're getting the right information or not?
You don't. You share it, and you let them do whatever they want with it. Yeah.
So would you recommend then someone who is trying to learn their own abilities to just practice on people?
Yes, and just let them know, like I'm practicing. So that person takes it a little more lighthearted. That's how we learn. We practice, or a lot of times psychics mentor under other psychics. Watch how they do it, watch their language, and kind of chime in at times. But yeah, practicing on people, I think, yes, first and foremost. Just like anything, if you're going to do a skill, you got to practice it.
What about using tools, whether it's dowsing rods, pendulums, mm-hmm. some people mm-hmm. read tea leaves, oracle mm-hmm. cards?
Mm-hmm. Coffee grounds, tarot, all of it. Yeah, some people they feel more comfortable with that. And that's kind of I think that's a good stair-step process to help people feel more comfortable with messages that are a little more universal. Say tarot, those cards are read in a specific way, and so asking spirit there are intuitive readings also, but in general, each card, each suit, everything means particular things. So it's not left up to your personal interpretation. You're asking spirit to pull those cards via their energy if they've laid their hand on the cards, for instance. Or, if you're using a pendulum, you're pulling from their energy, or same with the dowsing rods or whatever it may be. So there's a feeling where it takes you out of it a little bit more. So people tend to trust that a little bit more. So it's easier to start there.
Corrine would like to know what your opinion is on manifesting. Kind of like the law of attraction and manifesting things, I think it's wonderful. I have gone through phases with manifestation, and maybe 6 years ago, 7 years ago, I was very into it. Very conscious manifester.
meditations were focused on manifesting. A lot of my personal visualizations were focused on manifesting. I just spent a lot of energy on that because I was in a place where I needed it. I don't think I had a job. I can't remember what was going on. Even my husband didn't have a job, something. We were trying to move. It was like a lot of things that I wanted to really, really happen in physicality. And so I spent a lot of energy on that. And those things worked out in different ways, not exactly the way that I saw them. So I kind of learned to have like an open palmed, that's what I call an open palm, like your hands are a little bit more open to the manifestation instead of like the claw, where you're like, this is the way I want it. This is what I want. This is what the house needs to look like. This is what the job needs to look like. It's a little more like, this is what I want it to feel like. This is, this is the feeling that I want to have in my life from the job, no matter how the job comes, or this is the feeling that I want to have when it comes to my finances. It's a little more open-handed, and now that's kind of my approach. I love manifestation. I do believe we completely have the power to create our experience in life. But there's also that aspect that you were kind of talking about where when you open it to the other side, to your higher self leading you, sometimes the things come in that you could never imagine. You could never visualize first. And I've had that too. I've been totally thrown on my butt with like, whoa, never going to see that coming. So sometimes that manifestation can kind of be led also from your higher source. Does that make sense? It's almost like a little balance there.
What about positive manifestation?
Like affirmations and things like that to bring something specific into your life?
Stuart Smalley, yes. I'm good enough. I'm handsome enough. I'm smart enough. Yes.
I love those. I think they're very, very effective. I think they're more effective for certain people that believe in them. There's other people that may not believe in them, and therefore they're not effective because they're not creating a manifestation that's, what they're creating and manifesting is something that doesn't work. So it won't work for them. But for me, I love it. I fully love it. It's a bit like setting an intention for the day. And again, that's a little more open-ended manifestation of like, my intention for the day today is going to be, I think some of mine are that I may hold the highest vibrational frequency in my physical body that I possibly can, that I be more today than I was yesterday, more light in my body, more love in my body, more higher vibrational energy in my body, as much as I can possibly stand today. So that's an open one, but it's still like a guided kind of manifest, something I want to manifest. I don't know exactly how that's going to look. So it's a difference of kind of co-creating with my higher self and kind of passing on how that's going to play out exactly to higher self perspective.
Mario has a question for you. He is asking, Rachel, when you're with your healing abilities, do you just use energy healing or do you use traditional herbs, oils, or a combination of both?
A combination. It depends on what comes up psychically. To be honest, I use that. It kind of trumps. So a lot of times herbs will come into it. Sometimes essential oils come into it. Sometimes, but a lot of it is like holistic. It includes foods and things like that. I don't make tinctures. I'm not like some shamans do. Like they make their own little herbal tinctures of things. I don't do that personally, but I do when Spirit says that they need a certain type of food in their body or they need a certain balanced herb or usually there is food involved, something that can get integrated into the physical body. And I do the healing with energy as well and psychic surgery, pulling things out. Like I said, also like energy work with the elements. I have like balls of clay that I rub around on people. I do a lot of like air stuff, sucking energy out of like a little, kind of looks like a peace pipe kind of thing. But it's just a like a bamboo straw. Sometimes I pull it out of certain areas that have a bunch of pent up energy, a lot of headache spots and things like that.
Bob has an interesting question in the SOR Space Travelers Club. He's saying, Rachel, do you acknowledge that people with very long hair have a spiritual antenna of sorts? The Vril Society of Germany was a group of women with long hair, and this was their finding.
Yeah. They were amazing channelers. And, that's such an interesting question. I love that. I have not always had long hair, and I don't know that I would have, I have long hair now. And I have had no desire to cut it since I've gotten more and more focused on my work with humanity, meaning kind of using my gifts to serve others, not just myself. So ever since then, I haven't had a desire to cut it. And I used to have short, like pixie short, like super short hair. I don't know, maybe 15, 16. Oh, maybe it's like 20 years ago. I was getting old. I was trying to think how long it had been since I was in like high school and college and all of that. So yeah, maybe 20 years ago, I had short hair. But I do as an antenna. I don't necessarily put mine up like in a ponytail, like I've seen some do, but I do think there's an association there. I would have to tune into it more acutely to say for sure, because mine is more like just an intuitive desire not to cut it. Not like I had some sort of channeling from someone that said, it's best if you don't, you can use it as an antenna, very specifically. It's just more an intuitive feeling that I haven't wanted to cut it. And I don't intend to.
Well, that's coming from a guy who has just a magnificent beard. Bob has a fantastic beard. Very well manicured. He makes sure it looks very good at all times. Corrine has
a beard wars.
Yeah. We appreciate good facial hair around here and nice hair. We really do. We appreciate that, especially from the man club of Spaced Out Radio. Corrine, who has a beautiful set of hair as well, she is asking, Rachel, what do you think your purpose is here on Earth?
It's changed. I don't feel like we have one. I feel like there may be overarching themes, but I'm definitely a teacher. I've known that since I was a child, and I have taught in many, many avenues. I taught in prisons. I taught in private schools. I taught in colleges. And now I have this psychic academy. I definitely have that. But most of it, my heart is kind of the integrated human being. Feeling like people are empowered. I don't want clients to come to me for the rest of my life. I want them to realize they have this power to connect themselves. Everybody has this ability. And I really want people to have to live the fullness of their holistic mind, body, spirit, integrated life. So I feel like that's part of what I'm doing right now in terms of my purpose, is helping people learn how to integrate their multidimensional body, their extrasensory perception into their everyday life. I use remote viewing all the time with my children and making sure, I'll pop into somebody else's body at the grocery store if I feel like not in an intrusive way, but just in a way of checking out how they're doing and if I can send them any sort of particular energy. So there's a sense of integrating this that I really feel like we haven't, like I said earlier, we just haven't had a lot of examples of high kind of evolved beings that are actually integrated into regular waking life. They're always like Buddhas on the mountaintop. They go away. You know what I mean? They go like up to the mountain to connect. We just haven't had that example, and I really feel like it's time for us to see the evolved human and to be evolved in our waking everyday relationships, everyday life, all of that. So that's my purpose right now.
Does your path change often?
Not Let me think. Has it changed often? I would say like the overarching, like I said, teaching has always been there. How it's played out and how it's looked, yes. When I first started, when I first got into psychic work, I did only like missing person, homicide, and kidnapping cases, predominantly for like 7 to 8 years. That's all I did. I didn't work with the public like I do now. I didn't do readings. I didn't do energy healings. I just worked on cases, and that's where I thought I was very called to do that. And that was kind of, I definitely wasn't teaching then. I was using my gifts in a very different way, but I felt very led to do that. And then it literally, like, kind of overnight just switched, and I was like, I'm done with that. I still do it every so often, but it's definitely not my primary thing anymore. I felt like I wanted to connect more on a level that enabled people to learn their own gifts and their own way of connecting. And part of that came from families of past loved ones wanting to be able to connect with those that have passed and trying to help them with their own mediumship and their own ability to still talk to those that they love that are not there. So I think that just organically kind of developed and changed. And I think there's a whole other aspect of just me personally that's moving more and more into a dimensional space. And I know that's kind of a weird thing to say, but I have a very active, like, fifth dimensional life where I meditate and go to this different dimensional space.
We only got about 90 seconds here before we're going to hit our second break of the night. Flies by, doesn't it, when you're having fun?
It does. It does. Awesome.
Yeah. 2 hours down already, just like that. And we're going to learn more in the second hour because you mentioned a couple of things that I'm very curious about in hour number 3. I want to ask you about them. I have no idea what psychic surgery is.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I want to get into that. And then I didn't know you did cold case police files.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
is this what you I know you have your master's in education. Is this what you're doing full time now?
Yes. I do this full time. Yeah. Yeah. I I started doing, well, like I said, when I first started doing this, I don't know how, but my first kind of roll-in was a missing person case, and then it just kind of went from there after relationships formed with different law officials and families, and a lot of word of mouth with that kind of stuff. So that's where I focus, and I didn't get paid for that. I just helped, you know. It definitely.
And on that note, well, there's the music. We're going to cut on out of here for our break at the top of the hour, 2 hours down. 1 hour to go here on the mighty SOR. We'll be back with more Rachel Kirkland after this. Oh, yeah. And Trip, happy birthday, my friend. Trip's one of our listeners in the Space Out Radio chat room on Spreaker. It's good to have you around on your birthday. I hope you have a drink on us tonight, my friend. Thank you for showing on up. We'll be back right after this.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passport. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers, and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4COP. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Wachowski's Strange Days.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Have you checked out the SOR Spacewire at spacedoutradio.com yet? Every day we post the latest stories regarding the weird, strange, and completely unbelievable. From cryptid and UFO sightings to the conspiracy world, we tackle it all. Hi there, I'm Eric Markham, Spaced Out Radio's news director for the SOR Spacewire. And if you have a story, I want to hear it. Email me at news@spacedoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
A child grew up too fast, went running wild. Now we don't know who to pray to anymore.
Welcome on back to Space Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you along for the ride. Tomorrow night, the ET Experience is back for the first time in 2017. Yes, Samantha Mowat will be joining us at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern time at spacedoutradio.com. So if you're an alien contactee, abductee, or just curiosity, Samantha's the lady to check it out. That's tomorrow night, right here at the SOR. If you're listening in on the United Public Radio Network live on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world, thank you so much for tuning us in. We are also live in Las Vegas, Nevada on Renegade Talk Radio. Thank you so much for being with us in Sin City. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, so if you're a member, make sure you use it wisely. Flossin, Nossin, Illapilification. Flossin, Nossin, Illapilification is your password. So make sure you use it wisely. And if someone asks you what's it for, exactly. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio as well in case you want to communicate with me live during the show, just like John, Skeptic, Canadian Joe, Rahonda, Jeff, you know who you are. Even Eric's in there somewhere. You can give our Facebook page a like, Space Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn, download this show and others on iTunes, and of course our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of information for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for a measly $5 a month. Tonight we are talking with Rachel Kirkland. The ModernShaman.net is her website, a very talented woman. Texas lady, so you don't want to mess with her. She's from Texas. And,
that's right.
And also joining us for hour number 3 is one of my favorite poets. You've heard her on this program before, Corinne DeWinter.
Thank you, Dave.
You know how much I love you, Corinne.
I know. I love you, too.
Oh, you stop. You stop right there. Stop right there.
It's Valentine's. Are we already on Valentine's?
Not
over midnight.
You ladies are. You ladies are. I still got 54 minutes to go.
That's the Valentine love flowing right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Corinne is one of those people who's actually going to be joining me and Eric Markham, Everett Thiemer, and maybe more at the Provincetown Paracon, May 12th to 14th in Provincetown, Massachusetts, 90 minutes from Boston, one way. So we want a big gathering out there because I want to meet all the Spaced Out Radio listeners. So I'm excited about that because Corinne's one of my longest-serving listeners. I'm excited. Any hoodles, let's move on. Corinne, you joined us because you had a couple of questions. You're someone who has been developing your own intuition as well, and you had a couple of questions for Rachel.
Yes, and I love everything you've said so far, Rachel. I think you're right on. And I really appreciate you coming on here tonight and sharing your wisdom with us. I mean, I think it's phenomenal.
Thank you.
I love it. I love it.
You're kind.
Because, Rachel, often we hear people that speak over the audience. And, I think we all have to realize that we are not better than anyone else. No one's better than us either. And I love the way you balance that. And, we have to defer to, whoever we believe is better. But anyways, Rachel, how do you, essentially, and I know you've answered this in some way, but how do you know what messages are essential for you to pass on and what other messages you should let go for when you're doing a reading for someone or anything in the shamanic realm? How do you know what not to say?
Well, part of that is kind of how I set it up. In my sessions, I typically only ask to come through what is for that person's highest good. So I already set that up kind of between me and spirit, their guides, their higher selves, any angels, anybody that wants to come through. I set that up ahead of time with them, saying only what's for their highest good can come through. And so I start with that. When there's things that are touchy, say someone asks about their health and they have cancer, or someone asks if their husband is cheating and he is cheating, or something, something that's a tricky thing to share with people. A lot of times I will ask spirit, like, are they ready to hear this information? And a lot of times I will also ask them, how open are you? Genuinely, how much do you want to hear? And sometimes they say, don't tell me about the future then. Or sometimes they'll say, I'm open. I asked the question because I already had a little feeling that he was cheating or something like that. So
Right.
I typically go first to spirit or whoever I'm getting the message from, if I'm channeling or, being a medium or just talking to their higher self or guides or whatnot. I'll ask if they're ready to receive it. And if not, then I don't share it. And if so, then a lot of times I'll ask for help with my wording and try and be, as cautious with my wording as I can. I'm just sensitive to it. Some psychics are not. Some psychics are just like, you're going to die tomorrow. You know what I mean? They just like lay it out there. And people have had a lot of traumatic experiences with psychics like that. And a lot of times clients will come to me with fear already blocking my energy because they've had a bad psychic reading in the past that was really harsh, or, messages that came through from loved ones that were harsh and not just, so sometimes I'm very sensitive to that. And that's just me as a human being. As a compassionate person, you know what I mean? If I was in their shoes and I was hearing hard news, just like a doctor telling me hard news, I would want it, laid out nicely.
But that's where a lot of psychic people get in trouble. I mean, you look at Sylvia Brown.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
She was extremely matter of fact, and even when she wasn't accurate, she didn't care if she hurt people or not. Because she was just someone who was so convinced that everything that she was being shown was 100%, that she almost got, lack of a better term, cocky with it.
She did.
Well, if you're, I can remote view. I can be in that person's body, so I'm feeling what they're feeling when I'm telling them these things. So I can. I mean, same thing like when I would do, cold cases or homicides. I would be in that person's body, so I feel what they feel, and there's no way to not have compassion in that experience because you're experiencing it the way that they are as well.
Well, that's not so for everyone, Rachel. As Dave just mentioned. Okay, so let me just say this, and I know you understand this. There comes with psychic readings or anything in that realm a huge amount of responsibility. You know that, right?
Yes, and personal integrity. Yes.
Yes. And she seemed to not, in her last years, when she was doing, no, those weren't even her last years when she was on Montel Williams, but she gave bad readings to two couples that came to her for psychic readings about their missing children. Now, the first couple that she gave the reading to, she said, yeah, your son's dead. In fact, he wasn't dead, but after the reading, they called off the search for the son. He was found alive 2 years later. And it was the same case a couple years later when she gave a reading to another couple that their daughter was dead. She was not dead. And so, I mean, you know what I'm saying, Rachel, is like, there's a huge amount of responsibility. And I think you understand that. And a lot of, I won't say a lot of psychics don't, but I mean, there's a few out there that do not take that route of responsibility or whatever. And she did not seem to,
And I think you can feel that. Like you could feel that from her. So I think I wish people would pay attention to that in the reading, like how they don't feel like it's true. It doesn't vibe with them. Their own intuition in those readings is typically saying, I don't agree with that. And it should not feel that way. If you're in a reading that's in alignment, it should feel like total confirmation of what you already knew inside yourself. Because it's coming from you. I'm tuning into you and your future and so it should feel like you already knew it and I just confirmed what you already knew. If it doesn't, to me, that's just, it's coming from somebody else's ego or just coming from a place. A lot of psychics don't work on their own personal self. You have to keep developing your own personal integrity and your own personal heart because it's got to come from there, in my opinion.
I got a question from the Revolution Radio chat room. This one comes from Kate. They're asking, question, regarding permission to send and assess another on a spiritual level. As a Reiki 2 practitioner, was taught never to input another without permission. What is your impression of this mandate?
I agree. I agree. Just like it's in total alignment with what we were just talking about, with respect for other human beings. Sometimes they're not ready to heal, and it's serving them in some way to hold on to that. I'm using healing just because of Reiki, your certification and what you know. But yes, I think I do. I ask on different levels too. I ask them, and then I ask kind of their higher self, their guides. I ask on those higher levels to help if I feel like there's something that I'm being called to do. I can always do it on a higher dimensional space, and if they tell me that it needs to be done in terms of healing, and then ask that they take it from there and almost like filter it down into them in an appropriate way. But I do think permission is paramount.
Mm-hmm. Corrine Gale is saying in the chat room in the SOR Space Travelers, she misses you around chat, and she's so thankful you're on the show with us tonight.
Oh, I love Gail. She's like, I have a huge prayer list, you guys, and Gail's on my prayer list, so I think of her every night.
Awesome. Awesome. No wonder you never sleep. Your prayer list is too long.
No kidding.
She starts her prayer list at... Yeah, she starts her prayer around 7 o'clock Eastern time, and it's now, 2:15 a.m. Eastern time, and she's still praying.
But Rachel, don't you think that when you're praying for people or trying to send energy, it's important to say the names of the people? Like, I know other people that just like put all the names into a box and say, I'm praying for them. I think it's important to voice this. And voice what you want. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. I think you're right on with that. There's a lot of vibratory power. It like doubles its vibration and frequency. Everything on an energetic level is doubled. So it's not just the mental energy, it's the physical vocal energy of it. So, I mean, you would literally, if it was being measured in terms of like megahertz, you would see the peak in energy when it's said out loud.
Right. Exactly. And Rachel, okay, so you know about the Schumann resonance, right, of the Earth?
Mm-hmm.
And how the Schumann resonance has almost doubled from what it was for hundreds of years, right?
Right.
Okay, so what do you make of that? Now, do you say that we are kind of waking up? The resonance is like here, raising to such a degree to wake us up. Are we waking up? Do you think we are?
Yes, the ascension process. Yes, I believe we're fully into that process. And I feel like that is just a physical example of that they're able to measure it. But yes, I feel like we are waking up. I mean, systems are breaking down that have been, that systems that are not working anymore that we're recognizing are not effective for our society. I think it's yes. I could go into so many different ways that I feel like as human beings, we are ascending and we are vibratory, like closer than we ever have been to the veil. So I feel like this is why so many people are seeing ghosts now, or there's such a fine line between the unseen and seen.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I do want to ask you, because we had talked about this right before the break, what is psychic surgery?
So, have you heard of John of God? He's
No.
one example. No? Okay.
I know who he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So some people, sometimes it's called light surgery. It's basically focusing my own. The way I do it is in my own kind of meditative state, I see the body and then I do surgery using my physical hands on the body. I move things around. I pull things out. I place almost magnets. I'm doing this just visually in my psychic sight, using all of my energy to focus on their visual body and to transfer those energies that I'm seeing visually into their physical body. So it's just an intense focus on a particular body, and then I'm moving my hands and sewing things up and all of that. Moving, sometimes I'm scraping things out if I see gunk in certain areas, or trying to pull certain cells to be more active, just all sorts of things. I'm so focused in following my just psychic intuitive guidance in each move that I make as part of the healing. So I'm just kind of like, if you were to look at it, it would look like I'm just closing my eyes and moving my hands around like some surgeon.
Are you seeing what the issue is inside the person's body, maybe with your third eye or your mind, or is this strictly by feel? Both.
I mean, I utilize all my psychic senses when I'm doing something like that. So I'm feeling it. Like I said, I feel their body, which I reflect and kind of can mirror what they're feeling. And then also just my third eye and my internal vision, focusing that very clearly. And just from having done it so long, I can use it kind of like a camera lens, or a microscope. I can zoom in really tight on every little individual cell, every little particle if I want to change things. And then I can pan out really big and almost just move energy, more like Reiki. So depending on that person and how I'm led to heal them, I do it with my psychic sight.
Right.
Go ahead, Karine.
John of God has a huge history, of course, we know, right, Rachel?
Mm-hmm.
And someone in the chat said it's mostly fraud. And you know what? I don't think so. You know what? It's like, there's a saying, or there was like a meme I saw not too long ago that said, we all want magic to happen in our lives, but we're so unwilling to see magic. And it's like, this is not magic. It's like, it's real. But, Rachel, how do you deal with people that are like naysayers of this stuff? Because I find myself getting into arguments with people about whether magic exists or, our government right now. It's like, how do you deal with that? How do you, do you know what I mean? So Eric's asking. Go ahead. Eric's asking, I'm sorry, Rachel, I don't mean to interrupt you. Has she ever had an electroencephalogram done while doing healing? Have you ever had No, okay. So, but, all these people like Randy, the amazing Randy, naysayers on stuff that does exist, they need scientific proof. And, honestly, how do you deal with these people that are such naysayers?
A lot of times they don't come to me because they don't believe in what I do. I have such a personal, first of all, I've seen these healings, of things that seem like, HIV, which they say is incurable, you know what I mean? Or breast cancer and all. I mean, I've been a part of these things and seen it, and so I know it exists for people that choose to heal themselves in this way. But you have to believe it. You fully have to align with the belief that you can do this type of healing. And if you're a naysayer, then you will experience that it doesn't work for you. It won't, because that's what you're projecting. So, and you're not aligning with it. And I just really, a lot of times, I just let that go. I don't have a desire to change their mind, to be honest, because it just drains my energy. And I know it to be true for me. I know I have just physical, I just know, I've seen it, and I'm a part of it as well. So physical bodies can change this way. I had a spiritual, fifth dimensional baby. My boob started lactating. If I could say that on air. I mean, it's like these things really happen. They're physical enactment of the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I've just had it. I've seen it so many times. I don't doubt it. So when someone else doubts it, I almost feel sorry for them because they're missing out on that magic, like you're saying. And it's such a broader, more blissful space to believe that this kind of stuff can work.
Right. And do you think, Rachel, that it doesn't work for people that are in that form, that realm of belief? That, if you know what I mean? I'm not saying like a placebo, but I mean, I think we do have to believe in what can happen in our lives before it can happen, and there's so many people in disbelief and doubt and fear that they don't believe that this can happen. And so I mean, I go with that. I go with that magic. I go with that. Yes, the impossible can happen, Well,
as that Jesus said, faith makes the miracle. The miracle doesn't make someone have faith.
Yeah, that's a good quote. Thank you.
It's the same type of thing. I can't, people can look at the same thing, and one person be like, gosh, that's just irrefutable evidence. And then another person can be like, you could kind of explain that away, in a scientific way. And that's fine. That's the way their brain works. That's the way they process. To me, I'm okay with that. I don't need their validation.
Mm-hmm.
I just want healing for somebody. If they want to be healed, I want to freaking heal them. I mean, I want it as bad as they do. So my focus is just, when people may say, I do think they're not allowing that type of healing. They're limiting themselves to only medicinal healing or only traditional Western healing or whatever, which is fine and may work for them if that's what they believe in, because science proves it to them. Although science, what is science? You know what I mean?
We've debated that many times on this show.
I don't go in a lot of directions with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? There is another side here, and I'll play devil's advocate. I don't mind being that guy. I'll be devil's advocate guy here for a second. All right. There are a lot of people who have taken advantage of people because of what you do. Okay? It's very well known, as Mr. Skeptic has pointed out at #SpacedOutRadio, that Peter Sellers, the famous actor, was spending thousands of dollars on psychic healers, and they weren't doing anything. I mean, who remembers in the scene Man on the Moon, the story about Andy Kaufman, where he went to Thailand or someplace like that to get a psychic healing session done, looks down and he sees the chicken scraps in the person's hand. You know, so there's a lot of people out there who are taking advantage of people in need and so desperate for any type of help that they may not believe that this is true, because so many people have had their lives played with by so-called psychic surgeons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. You know, and that kind of just breaks my heart, to be honest. I'm like, oh, that just, yeah, it kind of comes back to that psychic integrity, what Corrine was saying earlier about that, with just integrity and personal responsibility.
And right. And let's look at the amazing Randy, who, you know, offered, like Tripp just put in the chat room, explains why James Randi and the James Randi Educational James Randi Foundation offered $1 million prize to anyone who could show, under proper observing conditions, evidence of any paranormal, supernatural, or occult power. The rules were little more than what any reasonable scientist would require. He stopped the challenge. I didn't know this until just now. And okay, so let's look at James Randi, who was in the closet for years and years. And then he finally came out and said he was gay at freaking 80 whatever years old. So really, Randy? You know what I mean?
There's the laugh I like.
love your laugh. I love
know.
that laugh. Awesome. That's like such a classic laugh. You really could like take that and use it as playback.
You should read her poetry. It's amazing. What's your poetry website?
It's CorrineDeWinter.com.
I should have known that. All right. I do have another question in regards to remote viewing.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I've never tried because, I don't know, I'm just a little bit freaked out on doing it for some reason. For those who have, like me, who have not had any remote viewing type of abilities or even tried it, what is it like and what are you seeing?
Okay, what is it like? So it depends on how I'm using my lens. You know how I talked earlier about how I can kind of pan in and pan out like a camera lens? Typically, I'm utilizing all my psychic senses when I do this. So I'm feeling what it feels like to be in their body. You still have your own mental mind that is, and your own spirit. It's not like that goes away and you're fully just that other person. But when I'm in that other person's body, and I differentiate astral travel from being in that third person omniscient view. That's just how I differentiate it. And then remote viewing is being actually in another form. So this would be like shape-shifting or being in a body of a human or whatever. So from that perspective, I'll see what their eyes see. I typically place my eyes behind their eyes so that I can see what they're seeing. And then I feel into their brain. I like to feel like what they're thinking, how they're processing things. This was obviously really effective using missing person, kidnapping, homicide cases, that type of thing, because I wanted to know sometimes like the thought process of where something might have been if I didn't see them do it. So I kind of feel into it. It's a bit like tuning into someone so much so that you know how they're thinking, but it just in an extreme way. And I think people do, couples do this after years and years of being together. They know how they think. So there's that process. You're kind of like feeling what it feels like to be that spirit in that body. So it's not like their spirit leaves or you push it out. You just almost incorporate it or encapsulate it with your spirit above it, and I see whatever they see. I see from that perspective. And if it's shape-shifting like into an animal, then I see from that perspective, or a bug, I see from down on the floor or wherever they are. The perspective just is, respective of their eyes and where they are and what they're seeing. And I also can move my internal eyes around. So if I'm remote viewing for medical reasons, I may move those eyes very focused into their gut lining or into their heart chambers or whatever, and I can remote view in that way.
Joyce has a quick question before we get back to this, and she is asking, do you think, Rachel, we can create our own reality and healing then by just imagining it?
I do in some ways. Let me see. Let me feel into that one intuitively. See, my hesitancy is in the wording. Like we just imagining, it almost seems a little frivolous and not focused. That energy has to be, in my opinion, very precise and focused. It is a very precise thing. I don't do it frivolously, like just imagining, like ooh, poof. Like it doesn't feel light. It feels very precise, very focused type of healing. And so in that way, yes, I feel like we can do that for ourselves by just quote unquote imagining. But it's a very precise imagining.
And Gloria, who is, I believe, in Louisiana, would like to know where in Texas you are.
Currently, I am in San Antonio. We moved here from Austin last year, so I'm in San Antonio, down by the Alamo and the Riverwalk.
Never been there.
You need to come.
I love Austin, but I've never been to San Antonio. I love Austin, though.
Yes, I love Austin, too. I was a little sad to leave, but I've actually been surprisingly, impressed with San Antonio. There's a lot of, metaphysical fairs and psychic. There's a lot of people that are interested in this type of thing here. The energy is it's still really kind of undeveloped and organic energy. Like, people are still very kind of newbies to this, but at the same time, they're open. So
Right.
I like the energy here.
That's excellent.
So back to the remote viewing. When you are looking into something, can you tune in to absolutely anything that you put your mind to? Like, for instance, could you view what I'm doing right now in the studio? Could you see the kind of pen I have in my hand or what I have on my walls? Are you able to do that?
Sometimes. It's a little bit, again, it's like a camera lens. So sometimes it just depends on what I'm trying to look at. Sometimes I can pan out and see it. Sometimes it's more, if I'm going into, your body, let me just, let's see, okay, well, when I'm feeling into your body, if I'm in there right now, you have so much energy in your throat, I feel like I'm going to choke, to be honest, but I think that's just because you're talking and you're holding, there's a lot of throat energy. Your stomach is really tight. I know you're not nervous, but that's how it's like there's a lot of acid in your stomach. the way that I feel when I'm in your body. If I'm looking around, no, with your studio, it feels just like a room, just a plain room, like a white room. What color are the walls? Are they white? I see white.
Off-white.
Yeah, but it feels just like...
You're not painting a romantic picture of Uncle Jimbo's cabin.
I'm sorry. I know I didn't want to go too much into your body either. But
and I was drinking Pepsi, which is the acid.
I'm like, ugh. Yeah, well, Pepsi, it has a good taste, but that's definitely acidic in there.
Okay, keep going. I'm excited.
Energy. You have a lot of energy physically in your body, though. Like, not ADD energy, but kind of. It feels like very stimulated. Like your cells move really fast, if that makes sense. Like if you were to look at the particles, they bounce. A lot of times people with ADD have that similar energy of just like really active energy. Even when they're sitting, their energy itself feels very active when I'm in their body. And you have that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Well, you know what? I do agree with you. I'm not going to lie. I do agree with you because while I'm doing the show, because I'm the only one here, I'm having to follow 3 screens, 5 different chat rooms, including Twitter, pay attention to you. Sometimes I actually lean back and stare at my ceiling, but that's a different story altogether. And yes, Robert White, I was thinking about picking up my guitar just to feel it in my hand. So he did say that. So, yes, I'm always on the move and constantly bouncing about during this show. So I would say that was quite accurate.
Well, it didn't go into any personal stuff. I tried to stay pretty easy with your body.
Oh, well. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Well, not really. I don't. Now I'm curious. Okay, fire away. Fire away.
No,
what the hell?
No. Because I don't want to connect it to your wife. There's relational stuff in there, and I don't. Yeah.
Okay, stay out of the relationship stuff.
I know. Well, it's in there. Her energy is very connected. You're very connected. So
yeah,
it's in there.
Yeah. We'll talk about that later.
Okay. Yeah. We'll leave that later. Okay.
Yeah, I would say I'm more obsessive compulsive than ADD.
Well, the energy is just very active energy. Like I said, when I see it, it just feels almost like the cells are moving really like boom, 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 like that all the time. There's not a slow pace. If it was to look like a sound wave, it would be.
Well, but you know what? That is so accurate because, and I'll tell you why, and I have no problem mentioning this, is because, when you sit there, I work a daytime career. Mm-hmm. I run an office, and then I moonlight by doing this show. And I'm trying to build this into a little bit of business and trying to do that on a limited time, a limited budget. We're growing exponentially, which is kind of cool. I think that's the first time I've used the word exponentially on the show.
You used it perfectly.
Thank you. Nailed it. Yes. No, but the whole point is, there comes a part of your life of want and need.
Mm-hmm.
I need to have my daytime career. I want to do this full time, and so you have to keep going. Like there is no time to slow down. There is no rest for the wicked or those who are trying to be successful. Right?
I was going to say, are you putting yourself in that wicked category?
No.
No, but you added that little caveat at the end. Yeah, so those that want to, yeah.
So I mean, like even when I sleep, I'm thinking business, right? And that's what it comes down to, And I'm sure
if you're joyous, there's a sense of peace in that too.
I'm sorry?
If that's your joy. I said, if that's your joy, then there's a sense of peace in that.
Yes. Well, it is a sense of joy, and it's a sense of a pain in the ass, It really is. We'll get to that. Gloria is asking, do you do long-distance healings?
Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of stuff that I have clients all over the world. So I do a lot of stuff. Skype, phone, in person, and I do long-distance healings. It doesn't, there's no distance in terms of spirit, so it doesn't make a difference.
All right, we'll make sure that Gloria can hook up with you to get some help.
Yeah.
For sure. Give her the old Space Out Radio discount. I don't know what that is, but she's one of my favorites.
I'll have to start one.
You know what?
Okay.
You know what? She's one of my favorites, so you got to take good care of her for me.
Okay, I will.
Uh-huh. Where does faith come into play with all of this?
Faith? Kind of like what we were just talking about a minute ago, what Corrine brought up. It just believing that a healing is possible. That's why I always start to ask clients at the beginning, do you believe you can be healed? And sincerely, some people don't. They want to. They want to believe. They want to believe. But some of them in a core area of themselves don't believe. So we have to heal that first before we can heal the body. We have to heal almost the disbelief and those blocks of past, almost like trauma from not being healed when they thought they were going to be, say if it's reoccurring cancer or something like that. There's a lot of fear attached to it coming back. So they want to be healed, but there's still that little itchy feeling in them that's just not sure if they fully believe it. So we have to go to that first and trying to heal the pain associated there and get that out before we can look at just the physical body. And faith, I feel like it comes in a lot, just the openness, the willingness, and the belief in something beyond yourself.
At what point did you start having confidence in what you were gathering?
When I was like I said, when I was a child, the premonitions, I had confidence because I would see them happen. And they were just everyday events, like random, I'd see my mom washing dishes and I'd get a little premonition in my head. And then 5 minutes later, she'd be washing the dishes. It was like the exact perspective, the exact sounds, exactly the way I had seen it. And so I lived my life like that, like all the time, like just, it's almost like constantly having a deja vu, but seeing it play in your head and then it happening. So I had a sense that what I was seeing was real because it would happen. And in terms of sharing that with others, like I really didn't share it with others because I just thought that's the way everyone's mind works. You're a kid and so you don't know any different. But I didn't share it unless somebody was going to get hurt. And a lot of times they didn't listen because, it's like a 5-year-old kid saying, don't do that. Or, they don't listen. And I don't know that it was confidence. When you're a kid, you just kind of go. You just are. You know what I mean? You're not self-aware. You're not like self-assessing, or you don't have really that ego to even be conscious of confidence. You know what I mean? Because that's just who I was. And if I saw something, it would just be like saying to someone, go put on a red sweater. It didn't have any like weight to it. Like it would now if I was giving a psychic reading or something. There's a lot more like weight or kind of a morality associated with it. As a child, it's not like that. I just automatically kind of trusted. And when I was trying to think what year that was, I can't remember. Time is weird for me. Time like overlaps and is really weird. Time's hard for me to pin down. But with my focused abilities to kind of like go out and use them, because as a child it came to me, premonition. So I wasn't actually being proactive with it until I got a little older, like junior high, maybe like 13, 14. My older brother is like a kamikaze driver, and he used to get in these horrible accidents. Just crazy accidents. He drove off a bridge one time. He ran a girl over one time. He flipped into this riverbed. just crazy, just like crazy driving stuff. And I used to remote view. Like I realized one time he got in an accident when he ran over that girl, and he called frantically from the police department, and my parents were totally freaked out and ran out to go be with him and left me and my sibling at home. And I was freaking out, didn't really know the fullness of it. So I just kind of astral traveled there, checked out the scene, and then I went into the girl's body to make sure she was going to be okay, and just to feel, she just had a broken arm and a broken leg, like on that one side of the body and a couple ribs. So I went in her body to make sure she was okay, and I went into my brother's body, and I did it very intuitively, but that was kind of pivotal for me because I realized I could control it and move it around. You know, I had a proactive approach to it, to seeing visions. And then when he came home, I checked everything with him. I said, I knew the girl's name. I said, "This is the girl's name." And he was like, "Yeah, how did you know?" And I was like, I just knew. You know, I didn't really have any language for what psychic stuff was at that time, but I kind of verified it with myself, and that was a big moment of kind of learning to trust myself and be a lot more proactive with the way I used it.
That's heavy. Having that happen, no, it is. Having that happen at such a young age and being mature about it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I'm a pretty old soul.
Sounds like my daughter.
It doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah. A lot of the kids these days. Lots of old souls.
For sure. For sure. So, when you're going through this and you've had it kind of happening your entire life, does anything surprise you anymore on what you're seeing or what you're able to view?
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. The alien thing surprised me. I used to have a boundary where I said, like, aliens could talk to me telepathically, but I didn't want them showing up in my visions. I didn't want to see them yet. Still freaked me out. I don't have that boundary anymore. But some of that was new and kind of surprised me. Sometimes when I am channeling things for certain clients, the other day I channeled like some weird Zoroastrian like ceremony for this lady that I've never, like, I don't know anything about Zoroastrianism, but that surprised me because it came through, and then I just started to do this ceremony that I was told. So that was a new weird thing. And then, like I said, the whole thing about the different dimensions, that's a whole another aspect that blew me away.
Do your kids have this ability?
Theirs are different, but yeah, they do. They're a little, everyone's are a little different and unique to them. My oldest, he's 8, he's incredibly telepathic, but on an emotional level, almost like empathic telepathic. So I'll be in the kitchen, and he'll be upstairs in a totally different room, and he'll open his door, and I'll say, "Mom, are you angry?" And I'll say, "No, I'm not angry." And he'll be like, "I mean, more like frustrated because you just got off the phone with somebody and they were talking about such and such and you were mad about it." And, you know, he didn't even hear that conversation. And I'm like, yeah, I can't get away with anything. Like, I'll have glasses on and he'll know when I'm upset. You know, there's just it's a lot of times with him, it's tied to an emotion, and he really reacts to people's emotional state. And then my other son, he has a lot of animal communication stuff that goes on with him. A lot of our pets that passed away always like come to see him, and we have deer around where I live, and like he can just feed them out of his hand, almost like communicate with them. He knows what to do and what not to do. It's just very good with animals. So it's completely different, but they do have their own abilities in each way.
Does that bother you that your children have the ability too? Did you wish them that they wouldn't, or are you happy that they have? I honestly, they chose me as their mother, so I assumed that there was some purpose in that. I think fully that I'm happy. I love my children, so I don't. There is that aspect of like, I have no idea how the world's going to react to them. You know what I mean? My eldest son remembers his past lives, and he always has. Like, he would just, same thing. See, like, I remember I used to be a teenage girl, and I died in this car
this plane crash, and I was sitting in this seat and doing this, it just remembers it in detail of these different things. And I don't know how that would go down if he was to tell that to somebody in school. They might send him to the like counselor or something. But so that kind of worries me a little bit, but they're around it so much. I'm excited for them. I'm excited for our children nowadays, to be honest with you. I'm one of those weirdly optimistic people that, like, I love where we're going as a society. As weird as people think it's getting all tripped up and, presidency stuff, to me, it's all systems breaking down so things can work better. So I with the kids too, I think I also teach psychic development for kids and helping them understand, because I didn't understand what was going on with me, and I didn't have a vocabulary for what remote viewing was, or astral traveling, or remembering past lives. I didn't know what any of that was. So I teach classes on that with kids, and I think there's a passion I have with seeing them feel comfortable in that also. So I guess I like that they have it, but I also, as a mom, you're protective and you only want the best for your kids. So I worry sometimes about other people's reactions.
I have to say this, and I'm kind of snickering here. Your husband has tweeted me, says, Rachel sees freaking everything. It gets funny sometimes with what she knows. And I'm like,
yeah, that's just funny.
That is awesome. Did you know he was listening in the other room?
No, he's in the bed over there with our 3-year-old. I think he's trying to keep her from coming. She could hear me. She got up, so I didn't know he was listening at all. He's in a totally different room.
That is just awesome. Thank you, Mr. K, for loaning us your wife for 3 hours to talk to us about these topics. We really do appreciate that, actually. So, I really do. We're down to just a couple of minutes left. Corrine, would you like to ask a final question here?
Yes, I would, actually. Rachel, do you think that the state of affairs in America or elsewise for our nation, that there's, because I talked to someone the other day, and this is why I'm asking the question. I talked to someone the other day that said there's something big coming in, and and I said, well, what, and it was like not nice, it was negative. And I said, well, what can we do about it besides pray? And she said, that's the only thing you can do is pray. Now, do you feel anything big coming on for America? Like negatively?
Negatively. Not in the world I'm creating. If I'm manifesting my world, I'm creating it, no. But I do think there's ebbs and flows, you know what I mean? And the waves kind of come in and come out in terms of negativity, positivity, or just like a dualistic life. We have positive and negative experiences. I do feel like there's a huge amount of change going on right now. And I think it will affect some people more positively than negatively, and some people more negatively than positively. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the global, and also just with the U.S., but the issues that are going on and things that are coming up, I feel like overall they're very positive. Even all this stuff with the political stuff that's been kind of all this crazy hullabaloo, like, to me, what feels positive is I feel like it's breaking down a system that's no longer efficient for us. So, and I think people are seeing that. So there's a feel of like change in a big way. Some people may feel that more negatively, but for me, I feel like it will always be positive. I know that's a cheesy answer, but that's my truth, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you're saying that it is in our own control to make things okay for ourselves.
Yes.
If we know how to do that. If we know how to command that. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, two people can go through the same experience, and they can take away two totally different views of that experience. Same experience. You know, they were both there at the same moment, same time in history, and yet they can interpret that experience completely different, depending on where they are spiritually, what they're working on, what their processes are, their own, you know, historical cocktail of their family, and just all of that. They're going to take it from their perspective. So it always is everything in every experience, including on a global scale and on an individual, singular scale, is still processed through our own consciousness. So you do have that choice of how you see things and how it manifests for you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel. You've been amazing. Yeah. Thank you.
I loved it. I loved it.
Well, you know what? That's what we try and do around here is have a little bit of love.
A little
Happy Valentine's.
Rachel, as we wrap this things up, I just want you to quickly mention where people can find your information and get a hold of you.
Yeah, my website is pretty much the central hub, which you've mentioned before, but it's just themodernshaman.net. I had to go with net because .com was taken. So themodernshaman.net. And then I have a YouTube channel that has a lot of this kind of question and answer stuff on it where people send me questions and I answer them. And then I also have a big Facebook community where I post a lot of things where I'm traveling, where I'm speaking, and I'm always traveling around and doing things. So the website's the easiest hub for sure. If you want to see anything and kind of interact, then Facebook and YouTube are probably the best ways there. And those links are also on my website. So themodernshaman.net.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rachel, for being on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to get you ladies to hold on for a second here because I got to wrap this thing up. If you're listening in on the Spaced Out Radio side, you are hearing Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rock us right on out of the show. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Check him out today by going to our website, spacedoutradio.com. I want to thank everyone tuning in to Rachel Kirkland tonight. Remember her website, themodernshaman.net. Make sure you check it out. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, Samantha Mowat is back. Yes, the ET experience is back on track. First time in 2017, Samantha will be here once again, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. I will be here in exactly 21 hours from now. I hope you are too. Do me a favor. Tell a friend. Spread the word. We're 125,000 strong now. Let's grow it bigger, better, and we need your help. Let's do this thing. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Mr. Bumblefoot, take us home.
1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're wide.